Some curses were never meant to be broken, only endured until the bearer's soul shattered. Yet Han Li had learned the cruel truth too late. The one who cast the seal did not possess the power to undo it. And in a world where forbidden techniques were guarded more fiercely than life itself, saving Nangongwan would demand a price far heavier than blood. If you enjoy my way of explaining and storytelling, don't forget to like and subscribe. It really motivates me to keep creating. Han Li took a seat, a bitter smile tugging at the corners of his lips as he spoke. That elder of the Yin sifting sect only knew how to cast the curse. He had no knowledge of how to remove it. From what I uncovered through the soul-searching technique, only the sect master and the great elder possess the method to dispel it. None of the other elders are privy to it. He didn't know how to remove the curse. Senior Marshal Brother Chung frowned, disbelief seeping into his voice. Han Li's expression darkened. That's correct. It appears the removal of the soul seal curse involves an exceptionally profound secret art of the Yin sifting sect. Only the sect master and the great elder are ever taught it. Senior Marshal Brother Chung's face grew grave. Without the method to lift the curse, little sister Nangong will... Han Li's eyes flickered as he continued, his tone steady yet heavy. Although there is no direct way to dissolve the curse, it does not mean all hope is lost. From the soul search of that elder, I discovered another method, a way to forcibly break the curse with the aid of several specific items. The old man's spirits were immediately stirred. What items can do this? Please, tell me. Han Li let out a long sigh. These items are all exceedingly rare. I fear they may be impossible to obtain. He softly recited their names, causing Senior Marshal Brother Chung's expression to change dramatically. The old man murmured in shock. Not just the heavenly south. I fear these items may not exist anywhere in the entire world. Han Li's lips twitched faintly as he replied in an even tone. That may not necessarily be the case. I happen to know the whereabouts of one of them, though obtaining it will be extremely difficult. I will need to prepare carefully before I even have a chance. Senior Marshal Brother Chung was startled by this revelation. Seeing that Han Li had no intention of elaborating further, he refrained from asking and instead said sincerely, "Is this something the sect can assist with? Please don't hold back." After a brief silence, Han Li shook his head. "No, this is not a matter that numbers alone can resolve." The old man stroked his beard thoughtfully. "Since Junior Marshal Brother understands the situation so clearly, I won't press further. But if there is ever anything you need, do not hesitate to call upon the sect." Han Li smiled faintly. "Thank you. I appreciate your kindness. I will go visit Wana now." Senior Marshal Brother Chung bade him farewell and remained alone in the great hall. After pondering for a moment, he let out a sigh and flew back toward his cave residence. The hidden chamber remained untouched, as pristine as ever, as did the massive block of ice resting within. Han Li stood before it, gazing at the girl sealed inside, confusion clouding his eyes. No one knew how long he stood there before a complicated expression crossed his face. He murmured softly, "Wana, your courage truly surpasses all expectations. In order to seize a chance at survival, you refined the most dangerous technique of your incarnation arts, the youthful celestial moon. Did you truly not know that this technique would force you into rebirth? If I were to completely dispel your soul seal curse, it might trigger the latent effects of that art. How could I not be worried?" His voice gradually softened, reaching out. He touched the thick, icy surface and gently caressed Nangong Wan's face through the frost. "You couldn't have known that the cultivator who cursed you lacked the means to undo it. Still, there is no need to despair. Through the soul search, I found another method, one that relies on several items. Though they are unimaginably rare, it is fortunate that Devilfall Valley contains one of them. The inner core of an ancient flame beast would normally be impossible to obtain. Yet, by coincidence, an ancient flame toad currently resides within Devilfall Valley. In a few years' time, I will enter the valley without hesitation. Though it is said this method can only weaken the curse by half, even failure would buy me precious time enough to journey to the state of Jinn. When that time comes, I will return with the true method to eradicate your curse, no matter what price must be paid." As he spoke those final words, his voice turned icy cold. After finishing, gloom settled deep within his heart. He lingered in the hidden chamber for a while longer before turning away and flying back to his cave residence. In the main hall, Han Li sat with his head lowered, lost in thought. Silver Moon stood obediently at his side, her eyes repeatedly drifting toward him with a trace of playful curiosity. Without looking up, Han Li asked indifferently, "What are you staring at? Did something sprout on my face?" "Master jokes too much," Silver Moon replied with a faint smile. "I was only wondering what decision Master will make. The time before entering Devilfall Valley is neither long nor short. Both Violet Spirit and Marquis Nanlong have invited you to accompany them. Who do you intend to go with?" Her smile faded, and she hesitated before continuing. "Devilfall Valley is the most dangerous region in the Heavenly South. Even with Master's abilities, entering it will be extremely perilous. Are there truly no other ways to save Miss Nangongwan? The risk is simply too great." Hanley shook his head calmly. "The other items, you mean the eggshell of the myriad dark gold bird? Or the fruit of the enlightened flower? Those have long since vanished from this world. Even if they still exist, they would be hidden in some desolate corner beyond reach. The demon core of the ancient flame toad is the most feasible option. As long as I follow Master Kang Kun's route and suppress any greed, I should survive. As for which group I'll join, I'll decide later." Silver Moon lowered her head and said softly, "If Master has already decided, then I have nothing more to say." Hanley smiled and rubbed his chin. "Before entering Devilfall Valley, I must travel to the far west to obtain the final 2 layers of the Great Development Technique. I should also visit the Thousand Bamboo School to see whether they possess any high-grade puppet designs. As for the refinement methods I acquired from Soaring Heaven's City, they are unusable for now. The materials are far too rare. Their main component, the myriad-year ironwood, requires an immense quantity of green liquid to mature. They cannot be refined in the short term. The Thousand Bamboo School, however, should have puppet designs comparable to core formation cultivators. With such puppets, Devilfall Valley will be far safer. With only a few years, further cultivation or refining magic treasures would yield minimal results." As he spoke, Han Li narrowed his eyes, his plans already taking shape. "Master's reasoning is sound," Silver Moon said after some thought, smiling in agreement. For a brief moment, a charming expression surfaced on her face. Suddenly, Han Li frowned. "Still, reaching the far west will not be easy. Despite it bordering the Heavenly South, I'll need to pass through the righteous Tao's state of Ju and then cross thousands of kilometers of desert." "A desert," Silver Moon exclaimed. "That's right. Not only that the desert is strange. Fierce windstorms constantly ravage its skies. Flying through it would rapidly exhaust our spiritual power. We'll be forced to travel on foot. The far west itself is no larger than 2 mid-sized countries of the Heavenly South and is extremely impoverished. As a result, few bother to cross the desert at all. It's also said that the entire region is controlled by the Thousand Bamboo School." Silver Moon frowned, worry evident. "If we have to walk the whole way, wouldn't it take far too long? If all goes smoothly, the round trip will still take about a year. That's why preparations are necessary." As Han Li spoke, he produced a jade box from his storage pouch and handed it to her. "While I prepare, I'll leave this to you. Pour green liquid on it and see whether it shows any signs of life." Silver Moon recognized it instantly and gasped. "The profound goddess palm. Master, you're entrusting this to me." Han Li smiled mysteriously. "If it doesn't revive, it will simply become a material for artifact refinement. I'll also take this opportunity to refine the wood spirit nascent. Additionally, I must deal with the corpse demon beneath the mountain. I obtained a suitable refinement method for a devil corpse from the yin-sifting sect elder. Leaving that thing alone would be like harboring a calamity within Dreamcloud Mountains." He paused briefly. "With so many matters at hand, I'll leave everything within the cave residence to you." "Very well," Silver Moon said helplessly, pursing her lips. "After all, I was the one who acknowledged you as my master." Hanley grinned, exchanged a few more words, and then left the main hall. After hesitating for a moment, Silver Moon suddenly called out, "Master, wait. There's something that's been on my mind for quite some time. May I ask you?" Her expression turned solemn. "What is it?" Hanley turned his head to look at Silver Moon, curiosity plainly written across his face. After a brief pause, Silver Moon asked in a measured tone, "Ever since Master took me in as an artifact spirit, you have never once used me in battle. nor have you drawn upon my power to strengthen your flying swords. May I ask, why is that? Hanli frowned slightly, surprise flashing through his eyes. Why do you suddenly ask this? Silvermoon lowered her head, her voice barely above a whisper. It's nothing important, just idle curiosity. After all, my true identity is that of an artifact spirit. Silence fell between them for a moment. Then Hanli spoke slowly. An artifact spirit. You truly think of yourself as nothing more than an ordinary artifact spirit. He shook his head. Common artifact spirits possess no intelligence at all. Why would you compare yourself to them? Even if I were to summon you in that capacity, it would severely consume your spirit essence. Overusing an artifact spirit can even lead to the dispersal of its soul. Hanli's gaze turned calm and resolute. From my perspective, your demon fox body is far more useful to me. Unless I am forced into a desperate situation, I will not use you as an artifact spirit. Moreover, if doing so were to hinder your cultivation, it would be of no benefit to me either. With that, Hanli turned around and left the hall without another word. Silvermoon remained standing where she was, head lowered, lost in thought. A short while later, her gaze fell upon the jade box in her hands. A faint smile curved her lips as she turned and walked away. Once Hanli returned to his cave residence, he began preparations to cultivate the divine ability of forming a second nascent soul. Such a heaven-defying technique lay far beyond the realm of ordinary cultivation, and the preparations alone took him a considerable amount of time. At that moment, Hanli sat cross-legged on the ground, a faintly azure jade slip resting between his palms. His spiritual sense flowed into it as he carefully comprehended its contents. Recorded upon the jade slip were the profound nascent formation arts. After a short while, he withdrew his spiritual sense and slowly closed his eyes. Forming a hand seal, he began to softly chant an incantation. His body stiffened as a flicker of azure light burst forth from the crown of his head. In an instant, a nascent soul bathed in azure radiance emerged. The nascent soul Hanli had painstakingly nurtured for over 200 years. Compared to its initial manifestation years ago, it was now noticeably more robust. Its eyes gleamed a deep, jet-black hue, sharp and intelligent. Having cultivated this nascent soul for only a few short years, Hanli dared to manifest it only within an absolutely secure environment. Otherwise, the slightest mishap could weaken it severely. The nascent soul sat atop Hanli's head for a moment, glancing about the chamber. Suddenly, it enveloped itself in a sphere of azure light and drifted through the hidden room. At first, its movements were awkward and unsteady, but as moments passed, it grew increasingly adept, flying faster and with greater control. In the end, it darted erratically around the room, displaying a level of agility that bordered on the uncanny. After another moment, it halted near a corner of the chamber, as though pondering something. Bringing its tiny hands together, it formed an incantation seal. With a flash of light, the nascent soul vanished only to reappear instantly above Hanli's head, its complexion noticeably paler from the expenditure of vitality. This was a divine ability exclusive to nascent soul's true instantaneous movement. Stretching lazily, the nascent soul transformed into a streak of white light and re-entered Hanli's body. Hanli slowly opened his eyes, his expression solemn. It seems my nascent soul has stabilized after years of nurturing, he muttered to himself, though it cannot compare to those of the ancient eccentrics. Refining a second nascent soul should pose no issue. He then slapped his storage pouch, summoning a jade box covered in layers of talismans. With a stern expression, Hanli swept his sleeve, dispersing all the talismans at once. He pointed toward the box, which opened on its own to reveal a dazzling golden sphere sealed within the wood spirit nascent. The soul fade technique is nearly complete, Hanli murmured. After a moment's contemplation, he raised his hand and reached toward the sphere. A thunderous clap echoed as golden light erupted outward. Countless arcs of lightning shot forth, only to be absorbed into Hanli's palm and vanish without a trace. In the blink of an eye, the golden sphere dissolved, revealing a delicate green figure only a few inches tall. It was the wood spirit nascent. At present, its body was densely pierced with jet-black needles, its eyes tightly shut as if locked in deep slumber. From time to time, the needles flickered with faint green light, producing a bizarre and unsettling sight. Hanli did not dare to be careless. He carefully inspected both the wood spirit nascent and the black needles. Only after confirming everything was as expected did he slowly extend his index finger toward its forehead. Before his finger made contact, a bead-sized sphere of green light burst forth from his fingertip, transforming into a thin green thread. The thread pierced into the nascent soul's forehead, probing its internal condition. After the time it would take to finish a meal, Hanli withdrew his finger and recalled the green thread, letting out a soft sigh. Stroking his chin, he pondered briefly. Then he waved his hand, and the black needles flew into his sleeve, leaving the wood spirit nascent alone in the jade box, still unconscious. Having made his decision, Hanli formed a peculiar incantation seal and struck the wood spirit nascent with a spell. It floated out of the jade box, rising to the height of Hanli's head, and sat cross-legged opposite him. Hanli closed his eyes and issued a command. Azure light burst forth once more as his nascent soul manifested. Unlike before, its expression was taut and solemn. It gazed at the wood spirit nascent. Then its figure blurred as it drifted closer. The wood spirit nascent was only 2 inches tall, slightly smaller than Hanli's own. Standing side by side, the two appeared fundamentally incompatible. Suddenly, Hanli's nascent soul began chanting a cryptic incantation. A sphere of azure spirit essence shot forth, striking the wood spirit nascent squarely in the face. The wood spirit nascent trembled and slowly opened its eyes. Yet its gaze was dull, lifeless like that of a puppet. Hanli's nascent soul reacted as though facing a formidable enemy. Forming rapid hand seals, it glared fiercely as twin beams of azure light burst from its eyes, piercing directly into those of the wood spirit nascent. The chamber shook violently. The wood spirit nascent let out a shrill scream and crashed to the ground, writhing in agony. At the same time, Hanli's nascent soul trembled mid-air. Its face twisted in pain, yet it stubbornly maintained control. Agonized screams echoed intermittently throughout the chamber for an entire day before finally fading. 2 days later, Hanli emerged from the sealed room. His face pale with exhaustion, yet a spark of excitement glimmered in his eyes. In the past, he had feared the backlash of forcibly invading the wood spirit nascent's consciousness. Thus, he first weakened it over time, using the soul fade technique from the profound yin arts and the fading needles. After such prolonged erosion, the wood spirit nascent's consciousness had been completely crippled. Under these conditions, Hanli was able to erase its final trace with his overwhelmingly powerful spiritual sense. Once its consciousness was gone, he infused it with a fragment of his own spiritual sense and employed a secret technique to assimilate it as a second nascent soul. Though assimilation carried a risk of backlash, Hanli's mastery over his spiritual sense was profound. Even in the worst-case scenario, he would only lose a fragment, an insignificant price given his strength. As for the duration of assimilation, it would take anywhere from 3 to 8 years, or 10 at most if fortune turned against him. Hanli never intended to rely on the second nascent soul during his time in Devilfall Valley, so the delay did not concern him. After leaving the sealed chamber, Hanli rested for a day before heading to the market city to purchase artifact refining materials. He then spent half a month in the refinement room, crafting over a dozen silver stakes of varying sizes. Once finished, he brought them to the mountain beside the swamp inhabited by the snow-cloud foxes. Upon entering the stone chamber at the mountain's center, Hanli looked at the cadaver demon lying atop the stone platform. Though he had anticipated this outcome, he still felt a measure of relief. Retrieving a jade box sealed with a golden talisman from his storage pouch, he then took out the silver stakes one by one, his gaze never leaving the motionless cadaver demon. The cadaver demon appeared no different from the last time Hanli had seen it. Its body was still covered in green fur, tightly bound by layers of silver chains, and it remained missing one arm. Hanli carefully examined the entire stone chamber from beginning to end. After confirming that everything was exactly as he had left it, he finally felt at ease. With a flick of his wrist, he tossed a jade box onto the ground. Then he slapped the spirit beast pouch at his waist, releasing a streak of black light before him. The weeping soul beast emerged in its miniature form, barely a foot tall. The moment it appeared, its gaze locked onto the cadaver demon lying on the stone platform, and it let out a sharp, piercing howl. Without waiting for Hanli's command, its body erupted in black light and rapidly expanded. Fortunately, aware of the confined space, the beast stopped growing once it reached 3 meters in height. Even so, it stared at the cadaver demon with undisguised excitement, its eyes blazing. Hanli frowned slightly at the sight. Yet before he could intervene, the weeping soul beast seemed to realize something, quickly calming itself and crouching obediently on the ground. Hanli's expression suddenly turned puzzled as his gaze fell upon the beast's back. The blood ghost image imprinted there had grown far clearer than before. It now bulged faintly outward, as though it were about to crawl free from the beast's flesh, giving the impression of something alive. Hanli's heart stirred with excitement. It seemed that the weeping soul beast's last 2 devourings had nearly pushed it toward another bizarre transformation. A trace of anticipation flickered in his eyes, but now was not the time to study it further. He had only summoned the beast to guard against any unexpected movements from the cadaver demon. Slapping his storage pouch, Hanli summoned an antique jade stick into his hand in a flash of yellow light. Raising an eyebrow, he examined the jade stick. It was actually a hair ornament, one he had obtained from the corpse of the black-robed youth after probing his consciousness. Within it were recorded more than 10 different corpse-refining techniques, all of them secret arts the yin-sifting sect had acquired through covert struggles with other sects. This particular yin-sifting sect elder had been especially proficient in corpse refinement. The dozen techniques recorded here were born of his own research, some even modified by him to significantly increase the might of refined corpses. It was a pity he had never shared these techniques with his fellow sect members. He had long dreamed of refining several top-grade corpses and rampaging freely, but suitable materials had never fallen into his hands. Among the techniques was one that described the refinement of a sovereign devil corpse, the very pinnacle of corpse refinement and the black-robed youth's greatest obsession. This method required an exceptionally ferocious corpse that already possessed intelligence. After erasing its consciousness, numerous secret techniques would be applied in hopes of transforming it into a sovereign devil corpse, whose power would far surpass that of ordinary intelligent corpses. According to the Jade record, this was one of the most optimal methods for refining the cadaver demon. Once refined, the natural ferocity of this corpse would increase dramatically. The moment Hanli read this technique, he had thought of the cadaver demon. Such an opportunity could not be allowed to slip away. However, before refinement could begin, the cadaver demon's consciousness had to be erased, just as he had done with the wood spirit nascent. For that purpose, he had brought out the jade box containing its primal soul. Hanli glanced at the silver stakes laid out before him and flicked his sleeve. The stakes immediately floated into the air. With a low incantation, they began to glow with faint silver light. He then clasped his hands together, summoning several arcs of golden lightning that crackled violently between his palms. Thunder roared as dazzling golden light filled the chamber. Expressionless, Hanli raised his hands and fired more than 10 slender arcs of lightning into the hovering stakes. Golden and silver light intertwined, causing the stakes to tremble violently. His gaze darkened slightly. Go. With a spell seal, he sent the stakes shooting forth like streaks of silver. They instantly surrounded the cadaver demon, each aimed precisely at a vital point or limb, poised to strike at any moment. Having completed his preparations, Hanli took a deep breath and turned to the jade box sealed with a golden talisman. Opening his mouth, he expelled a stream of azure light that engulfed the box. The talisman trembled repeatedly before finally peeling away and drifting into the air. Whoosh! The jade box shot forward nearly 10 meters as if struck by an invisible force. Hanli's pupils contracted, his lips pressed tightly together. A dense green mist suddenly billowed forth, accompanied by wild, unrestrained laughter. I'm free at last. Who was the fool who released me? Since you've freed me, I'll devour your flesh, ye. A nascent soul cultivator. The green mist condensed into a ghostly woman's face, identical to Silvermoon's human form, save for the sinister green glow blazing in her eyes. Upon seeing Hanli, she froze in shock. Hanli was momentarily surprised by the familiar visage, but his expression quickly returned to icy calm. Silvermoon's transformation had originally been created by this cadaver demon. It was only natural that its primal soul bore the same appearance. After a brief daze, the ghost face let out a cold laugh. She opened her mouth and expelled a violent yin wind. Her form rapidly expanded to 3 meters in height as she lunged straight toward Han Li, attempting to invade his body. But Han Li had long anticipated this. No matter how powerful the cadaver demon had been in life, it was now nothing more than a primal soul imprisoned for countless years. A cold glint flashed through Han Li's eyes. Without waiting for an order, the weeping soul beast snorted, spewing forth a cloud of yellow light. The mist swept across half of the ghost face, instantly immobilizing it. What is this? Sensing danger, the ghost face struggled frantically, but the weeping soul beast specialized in restraining souls. Not only was escape impossible, the ghost face was being steadily absorbed by the yellow mist. Fear filled its features. In a desperate move, the green mist violently surged, severing the portion trapped within the yellow light. Using this opening, it condensed into a smaller ghost face and fled. At the same time, it turned sharply and shot toward the cadaver demon's body at the center of the stone platform. Realizing Han Li was not to be trifled with, it planned to reclaim its original body before retaliating. Han Li smirked, casually pointing at the silver stakes revolving around the platform. He watched as they descended like lightning the instant the ghost face entered the cadaver demon's body. A gale erupted. All of the cadaver demon's vitals and limbs were struck simultaneously, though its body was incomparably tough and the stakes failed to pierce it. The golden lightning unleashed from them was merciless, instantly weaving a crackling golden net around the corpse. A pungent fishy stench filled the air. The primal soul was violently expelled from the body almost the moment it entered. Green ghostly mist swirled once more, revealing both a large and a small ghost face struggling within. The two ghost faces desperately attempted to re-enter the body, but each time they approached, arcs of golden lightning lashed out, forcing them back amid shrill screams of pain. As expected, a fragment of consciousness was hidden within the body, Han Li said, delight flickering across his face. It seems these preparations were not in vain. With his last concern dispelled, he calmly issued another command. The weeping soul beast snorted again, expelling 2 far brighter clouds of yellow light. This time, the ghost faces had no chance. Piercing screams rang out as both ghost faces were swept directly into the beast's mouth. The weeping soul beast swallowed repeatedly, pounding its chest in satisfaction, its excitement plain to see. Han Li smiled faintly before turning his attention back to the silver stakes. He strode toward the cadaver demon's body, standing beside the stone platform. He examined the silver chains binding it. After a moment's thought, he flicked his finger, sending out a golden sword streak. Clang! The chains rang loudly but remained completely unharmed. Unsurprised, Han Li spat out a small golden sword. Forming a hand seal, he commanded it forward. The blade flared brilliantly and silently sliced past the chain. Crack! With a flash of golden light, a rice grain-sized hole appeared in the silver chain. Han Li's expression finally shifted. He had known the chains were extraordinary to be able to restrain the cadaver demon, but even so, it was astonishing that his auric essence-infused bamboo cloudswarm swords could only damage them to this extent. Suppressing his amazement, Han Li continued forming incantation seals, ordering the sword to repeatedly strike the same spot. Only after a long while did the silver chain finally snap. With a beckoning gesture, the 2 severed segments slithered off the cadaver demon's body, like living serpents, and flew into Han Li's hand. He stroked the chains thoughtfully, discovering their surface was impossibly smooth, and densely engraved with countless minuscule talisman characters, so small they were nearly invisible to the naked eye. Han Li's pupils shrank. Shock unmistakably filled his eyes. That's all for today's content. See you in the next part. Support me by becoming a member. It will give me more motivation. Thank you so much.